Okay, so let's open back up our simple gun blueprint, and this is where we're going to add all of our logic for the gun functionality. So let's review. So we have a few blocks and we have an arrow. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to trace forward in space. We're going to test if what we hit is an enemy. If it is an enemy, we're going to create a blood splatter on the body, and it's going to blast through and fire a blood splatter onto the wall behind it. So, sounds simple. Let's do it. Okay, so event graph. Up here in the event graph, we can delete these two. And actually don't even need this. So we're going to right click and we'll say add custom event. And we'll call this fire weapon. What we're going to do now is we're going to drag off here and we'll say line trace by channel. And we're going to grab our arrow. We're going to say get world location. And we're going to drag this into the start point. We're going to pull off here and say get forward vector. And we're going to say multiply. We're going to pull off here and say vector, float to vector. And this is going to be the distance that we're tracing forward to test. So if it's a bullet, it can go pretty far. So let's say 5,000 units in this situation. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add, get an add operator. We're going to add this to that. And we're going to drag this in here. Basically what we're doing is we're taking the forward vector, we're multiplying it because it's normalized 0 to 1. We're basically extending the line down the length of that forward vector by this distance here, which is 5,000. And then we're basically taking the first point in space where the arrow is, and then tracing out forwards, and then finding 5,000 units ahead relative to the forward of the gun. So what we can do actually is we can visualize that by using the draw debug type, and we'll set the draw time to 3, and we will compile and save. So when I right click, I say play from here. When I left, we'll go back to our third person character, go to our event graph, and now that we have this event, we can drag off our gun reference and say fire weapon. So I'm going to copy that here. I'm going to paste it down here, drag this in there. Now we can delete these comments. So basically on the left mouse button now we're going to fire the weapon with the logic we implemented previously. So I'm going to compile save. I'm going to go back to my map. And when I left mouse click, I can see now that I'm firing a line forward and then it is hitting the wall. So now let's layer on some additional logic into this gun blueprint. All right, so once we've done that trace, what do? We want to break the hit result. So what we'll do is we'll add a branch here, and just for safety, to say if you didn't hit anything, don't do anything. So we're going to pull off this out hit. We'll say break hit result. And we're going to hit this arrow here to drop down all the information of that hit. So location, normal, what is it? Or what, it is an actor, then we could test what it is. But all this information here can be useful. In this situation, we're only going to use a few things. So first we want to know on this hit, does this thing, can it be damaged? So is it an enemy? So what we're going to do is we're going to drag out our hit actor right here, and we're going to say does implement interface. So does object implement interface, and the interface is going to be our damage interface. So BPI underscore damage interface, and we're going to right click and we will say branch again. And so again, if the line trace is true, so if it's a successful hit, drag into here. And then if the actor that we hit, which is going to be our little dummy guy, implements the interface for damage, which a refresher that we implemented that interface, and that's what we were doing down here. We implemented this interface. So if it does implement the interface, then we want to, we're going to say do damage to hit actor. So what's going to happen is in our dummy, we'll go back up here. We'll go down to our interface and we'll right click this, do damage to hit actor. We'll say implement and we'll say print string out of this. And it's going to say I'm hit, exclamation point. Called, and this is going to say called from weapon. So basically the gun is going to communicate with this hit actor, in which case for your own needs, you could say it plays a hit reaction, or it dies, or it does a certain amount of damage. So right now, this is kind of empty, but we're going to add now the decal spawning in the next step. Okay, so from here, what we're going to do is we're going to add our blood splatter, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag off of our location, and I'm going to say promote to variable, and I'll say this, bullet hit location. And this is basically just where our trace has hit. We're going to do this just so we don't create a lot of spaghetti, and we have a little bit of organization. We're going to use this variable and just cache it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drag off here, and we're going to say spawn decal attached. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our hit component right here as the attach to component. And we're going to do our hit location as the bullet hit location. So we'll just drag this in here. And we're going to need a decal size. So we'll first do the size and then we'll do the rotation. So I'm going to pull off of here, and I'm going to get, we need a vector, so I'm going to say multiply. We're going to drag, we're going to type in here, we're going to type 100 by 100 by 100, which means it's 1 meter. And I'm going to pull off here, and I'm going to say float. We're going to use this float to vector conversion. I'm going to type, actually what I do need right here is I'm going to pull off and I'm going to say random float in range. And we're going to make this 0.15 to 0.3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to here. We're going to assign our decal material. That's pretty important. And we're going to use the left arrow to assign that right there. We're going to change this location type to keep from keep relative offset to keep world position. That's super important. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create random rotation about the axis of the line trace. So basically we're shooting forward. We want to rotate that decal so that it doesn't look like the same decal splattered on itself over and over again. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to say combine rotators. We're actually going to kind of work across here. So we're going to grab this normal, and we're going to say make rotator from X. Use this one. So it's going to say make rot from X. We'll pull off this rotator. We're going to say combine rotators. We're going to drag off of here. We're going to type rotator from axis and angle. And we're going to pull off of here, and we're going to say random float in range. And we are going to type 0 to 360. And we're going to drag the normal into this axis. And then from here, we're going to drag this. So let's say combine rotators. We don't need this one. So we're going to drag the combine rotators into our rotation right here. And let's run a quick test on this. So when I go into my map, I've placed a little guy right here. So just drag your guy into the environment, friendly little marshmallow man. And you're going to left click, and it's going to trace forward, and we can start to see these blood splatters appear on the guy. So there we can see it right there. Sometimes decals behave strange on curved surfaces, but that's okay. So we're noticing that they never disappear, and we're going to want them to disappear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our gun blueprint, and we're going to pull off of our return value, and we're going to say set fade out. So what this is going to do is give us a delay. So we're going to say after 4 seconds, start basically fading out over a duration of 2 seconds. So I'm going to enter 4 and 2. We're going to change this value to destroy owner over fade to false. Otherwise, our guys can disappear because we've attached it, and that's set him as the owner. So compile, save. Let's just test this quickly. This gun is pretty big. Maybe I should make it a little smaller, but I'm going to blast our guy. You see the blood splatters appear, and then they are going to fade out over time. Awesome. There's more to do because we want to put the blood splatter on the wall as well. So let's go back to our gun blueprint and let's add that logic. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a second line trace, which is going to be from the other side of our damaged enemy towards the wall in the direction of the fired shot from the gun. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off here and we'll say line trace by channel. We're going to be doing similar logic to what we did over here, where we're using the direction of the gun to determine the direction of the trace. So I'm going to drag our arrow off here, say get forward vector. This math might be confusing, but just hang with me for a sec. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by there, and I'm going to say to float, and then we're going to make this say 150. What we're doing right now is we're basically just trying to get a point on the other side of the enemy. So we're taking that forward vector, basically creating 150 unit long line, and then we're going to place it basically on the other side of the enemy. And so how are we going to do that is by adding to the bullet hit location. So we'll drag this off here, drag this in here, this in there, and then this is our start point. So basically we're taking the original bullet hit location, which is, you know, the hit point of the enemy, and we're drawing a line through it by 150 units in the same vector as the gun. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, we're going to copy this right here. I'm going to paste it right here. We're going to drag this in. We can reorganize these to make it nice. And this is going to be the longer trace. This is going to trace from this secondary point on the other side of the enemy, units forward in space. So we're going to make this 1500. And so this is basically going to say if there's a wall 1500 units behind the enemy, let's splatter blood on it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add this to this, and this is going to be our endpoint. So basically, to reiterate, the start is the trace, or we're taking a trace on the other side of the enemy. So the enemy is hit right here. Let's say the gun is right here. That would be tracing from here to here. What we're doing is we're starting now on the other side of the enemy. We're moving the start point to trace to here by adding that first number, and then we're tracing through this direction towards to the wall. So what we'll do now is we're going to, again, break this hit. So we're going to pull off here. We'll do a branch for safety. So we'll drag this in here, this in here. We're going to pull off on this out hit. We'll say break hit result. We're going to drop this down. We will, what we want to do is we want to determine we're only going to splatter this decal if it is a static mesh that we're hitting. So we're going to say hit component right here, cast to static mesh component. We're going to drag the true from this branch into the cast, and it's only going to pass through if that cast is successful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to first draw some debugs. So we're going to get this hit location right here. We're going to say, we're going to right click out here. We'll say draw debug sphere. I'm going to drag this in here. I'm going to drag this center into this location right here in the hit result. So the duration is 3 seconds So what this is going to do immediately is we're going to jump back in, and we'll be able to see when we play and we shoot through our enemy, we're now going to see this hit on the wall. So if we go do that again, I'm going to left mouse click, I can now see that I have hit successfully because it creates this debug sphere on the wall. So let's go back to our gun, and we're going to we're going to draw one additional debug, and this is more of an advanced thing, but we're going to type draw debug coordinate system. We'll get to this in a second. We're going to drag this location in here, and we're going to basically use the exact same logic we did here for this rotation. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to Control C, Control V over here, and I'm going to drag this into here. I'm going to drag this normal into this axis, and I'm also going to drag the normal into this make rotator from X. So what we're going to do now is we'll actually we're going to set this to 3 as well, and we're going to change this scale to 500. And basically this will help us visualize that rotation that we did to add random rotation to our decal, so we can see that basically it's applying this in like an XYZ axis debug along the wall, and we can see that it's rotating each time we connect with the enemy. So we see basically it's rotating, then we'll see the decal in just a second. So back to the gun. Almost there, have no fear. What we're going to do is we're going to use the same logic. We're just going to copy paste this logic right here. So we're going to grab these few things. So Control C and Control V. We can turn this into a function, but right now we're just going to use it so we can visually see it across the blueprint. I'm going to drag this in here, and I lied actually. We're going to say spawn decal at location, because we don't really need to attach to anything right now. So I'm going to drag this into here. Let's go back and get our decal blood splatter material. We'll use the left arrow to get that in there. Decal size, drag this in here. This one is going to be a bit bigger though. So we'll say the random float size is 0.75 to 2 for a big splatter. And then what we also need is a hit location. So what we're going to do is we'll just drag this all the way across. Here it's kind of ugly. We should I lied. We're going to promote to variable. Call this hit location wall. Drag this in here. Put this in there. Wiggle this across. And I'm going to drag this out here. Say get. Drag it into the center. Control C, Control V right here. Drag it into this axis location. Then I'm going to paste it over here again and say axis location. And this is just so that we're not drawing ugly lines across the screen. And I'm going to go down here and grab my rotator that I've created over here. And we're going to drag this all the way across into the rotation. And I'm going to drag this in here. And go back. Surprise, I'm going to Control C this set fade out. And I'm going to paste it all the way over here in this new set decal. So I'm going to drag this in here. And I'm going to drag this return value, again, we're all the way at the end, into the target. We'll use the same values for now. And I don't think there is an owning actor. We'll see what happens. I know we can set this to true in this circumstance because there is no owning actor. So let's compile. Let's save, and let's see what we got. So I'm going to right click to say play from here, and we're going to see immediately we're getting the splatter on our dummy actor and our wall behind it. So we'll see it's going to fade out over time and disappear. And let's just add a few more of these guys. So now when I play, I'm going to trace. I can see behind that the blood is going to splatter the decal both on the enemy and onto the wall. One thing we're going to notice is we actually just saw a little bit of stretching on the decal, which translated onto the wall. So we can see right down here, you see that striped across the floor. We don't love that. So what we're going to do is in our gun, we can change the values in our original scale, and we're going to change this X value to 5. And when it's flat, this is fine, but you know, like the curved surface of a wall might make this, you might want it a little bit wider, but in this circumstance, you know, now we got what we wanted, and we can turn off all of our debugs. So we'll bypass this right here, drag that in there, and now we are good to go on our functionality. And we can see that when we left mouse with our player, we're going to project both a decal onto our enemy and onto the wall behind it. That is all for today's video. I hope you learned something new. A lot of really awesome, useful stuff that you can use for this use and also for a lot of different other uses in your game. So if you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for more Unreal Engine 5 content and let me know what you want to learn about next. Stay tuned and have a good one.